Hey everybody, it is Tuesday and it is about, let's see here, quarter to nine. So we got about 45 minutes to the market opens. Let's take a look at what's happened yesterday and what we might be able to expect for today. Well, let's actually start, we talked about Friday, big old pullback on Friday, big old down day. And then yesterday in the pre-market was a pretty hard rejection of those lows, right? So we kind of probed down below here, below these lows right here, and these lows right here. And then buyers swooped in. And if you look at this on a larger time frame, this is just a 30-minute right now. If you looked at this on a larger time frame, this, on the right time frame, it would look like a big old buying tail. Um, we expected some stickiness right around here. We talked about that, and that's where the market kind of opened, was a little bit stuck in that area. And then we expected in this range, I took off the lines because I don't like to have a lot of used lines on the chart, but there was a bunch of levels in here, and we could see that we stuck here. It took a trade, actually, a little short trade in here that worked out, and then another one here off one of those levels. And then the sort of key level within this, it was really hard to sort of figure out where the key level was going to be in this, but the closest that I could do was 42.15.50, and I actually sent this to my my Discord group, right? You can see it right here. So I said, and this was at 10:54 a.m., so about 11 a.m. I said, if price makes it up to 42.15.50, I'll initiate. I meant to say initiate, but typing while trading usually it gives me a lot of typos. Initiate a short for an expected reaction. I put a pretty big stop and target on there because it was an area with so many different levels. And I ended up taking the trade off early. I took it off early with some profit because it didn't get hit till really close to the end of the day, and then price was kind of stalling. But what's interesting was that was basically of the open session, right? If we look at just the kind of the open session as like this for yesterday, right about there. So really, like, we got this spike up basically right at the close, but otherwise price came right up into that level. It went to 42.15.75 and then pulled back. And this is where I took profit, as it kind of pulled back in here. And then again, it was only literally the last 2 minutes of the trading day that we got this spike up with the, market on close orders that come in at the end of the day. So that level turned out to be a really solid level, essentially calling the top of the bullish push. But again, it was just too close. But by the time price got there, it was so close to the end of the day that there was just no way I was going to hold it for the full target I wanted. And I'm glad I didn't, because you get that end of the day sort of, people reacting to the day's price action, and that can change things. Now, price did ultimately pull back down, right? So we went up. My stop loss, by the way, was like up above these highs. So had I kept it, it would have gotten just barely touched, probably, because my stop loss was basically up here. So I'm glad I pulled it off early, even though price did come back down. We did still get, again, this area in here, we were expecting a stall, and that's what we're getting now. And we're still kind of stalling here now. And so this was a big stalling point in this area. And there was some big volumes that came in here with a key level around 42.07. And we can see in the overnight session, during the London session, price got pulled back down into that key area and then bounced off of that. So that worked out pretty well also. So this is kind of how we like to use some of these levels. But, it's like, here we are now. And what's the market going to do? And that's sort of the big question, because this market has just been whippy, right? Like, just a really whippy market. So, this is the 4-hour chart. Essentially, you can see we had this bigger channel from this low to the high, and I kept this channel here because we were struggling to make it up above the channel, and then rejected hard back inside of it. And so then, we also have this sort of swing here from this low to this high, and these are probably a little bit more clear on the daily or the 8-hour charts, because this is pretty big movements. You can see low to high here, and then very clearly low to high here with these color changes on the control candles that we use. So And again, it's one of the things that I use this script for is it just helps to identify sort of the dominant time frame, like what is the clearest time frame to make your analysis off of, because that matters. It really matters, finding the right time frame to make your analysis off of. And so what we see is, we had this little pullback, probe upward again above these highs, above the all-time high, and then another hard rejection, probed down below this low, and then rejected back up again. And what this ultimately looks like is the same area that we've been talking about for feels like months now, and probably has been months, where there's just been this balancing period, and we've been kind of bouncing around between the point of control being up here with this price action and the volumes down here with this price action. And right now these are stronger. And this area is just acting like a magnet for us. So every time we try to probe up, we come back down into this area. We try to probe down and we come back up into this area. So, one of my sort of virtual mentors, like just somebody I've learned from reading their books and stuff like that, they always talk about, one of the most important questions to ask is, what is the market trying to do, and are they doing a good job of doing it, right? And so yesterday, basically Friday afternoon, and then yesterday, we can say that the market was trying to move down, but didn't do a very good job of it. There just weren't responsive sellers down here. So as the market probed down, we can see volume really dried up. People were not willing to sell at these low prices anymore. And so buyers had to be willing to pay more if they wanted to buy. And that's essentially what the auction process is, right? And then as price comes up and sellers are like, yeah, I'd love to be selling up here, but the buyers just right now are not willing to buy up at these levels. That's why the volumes dry off, and the sellers have to bring their prices down to find active buyers. It's no different than going to a store, right? Maybe you want to buy some like some gear for going skiing, right? Well, if it's the middle of the summer, the people who are selling ski equipment may have to bring their prices down to find people who are willing to buy in the middle of summer, right? When demand is low. And so that's kind of what you can think about with this sort of process. The other thing that we want to look at is just the session volume. And we've looked at this again kind of over and over. I'll leave this on here for now. We looked at this again over and over again because this is going to be helpful for us just getting a feel for what today is doing. And if we look at session volume, you can see that yesterday was really a very obvious like trending up day, but the open session really, most of the volumes were up here. And today we are opening up inside of that major like value area. And that points us to that this could be a balancing day, which wouldn't be super surprising after the strong rally that we had yesterday. Plus, we're hovering right between these teal lines here are the two major high volume nodes, right? And it's hard to even say point of control because these are so close to each other in width. So really we just have two almost equal high volume nodes that are both kind of pulling price. And it wouldn't be surprising if we just kind of bounce around in here. I mean, we've just been sideways. We've been sideways since May 24th, right? Basically since my birthday, which was May 23rd, in case anybody wants to plan to buy me a present next year. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Price is down here right now, very close to yesterday's POC, point of control. And if we open right around there, then I'm going to be sitting on my hands at the open because price will probably move back and forth a little bit. And what we want to see is just price break out from, kind of like this, right? Like this is where like so much of this trading took place. And it's like if price just stays in here, then we're just going to have a balancing day. But if price breaks out, particularly if it breaks out to the upside and gets above yesterday's range, right? Because the top of yesterday's range was up here too. Plus we have this previous high here that we sort of probed and then rejected down, but then tried to come back up again and then are kind of coming down again. So we want to see, like, are we going to get up above this stuff? There's probably some, if we do some cumulative volume in here, there's probably some significant volumes here. And if we do get up above that stuff, then there's probably opportunity for a bullish trend day and some good reward opportunity there, but also, also risk there as well. So we definitely want to be aware of those areas. Sometimes what I like to do, because the open session is really where a lot of the important volumes are. So the cash session. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just take this super handy fixed range tool and I'll throw this on, basically the open session. Go from there to there. And that was, whoops, that's the wrong day. Bloop. Let's go from here to here, right? And we can see a little bit more clearly then, like our value area that we should be wondering if we're going to stay within. And again, I just would not be surprised if there's so much between these two high volume nodes, these two teal lines. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one now. I think this is just going to be noise on our chart. And then the other thing that I'm kind of curious about is just seeing, between this and this, there's got to be some pretty substantial, see how much volume is building in this level alone, right? And then again, this is the other one down here. So it's like, we've got these big ones that were back here, but then we're starting to build these two, high volume areas. You can see this is right here as well on this one. And this is this building up right here. And is this going to turn into, instead of having these two spikes like this, right? Instead of it looking like that, will this start to shape into something that resembles a little bit more of an even distribution like that, right? That's what might happen. If we stay between this zone, especially if we stay there during the cash session today, these volumes here are gonna push out. I don't know how much they'll push out, but they're gonna push out. So again, like big picture, and I keep saying this a lot, we've had these big market movements, right? These big market movements, but if we look at value, it's not what I want to do. You know what? Sometimes it's hard when there's two of these going to the same spot. If we look at value, even just going back to here, like values right there, point of controls right around that level, value widens a little bit, but point of control is still the same, and values overall still in the same range, even as we pushed bullish, right? Like we got this other high volume node, but this one was still really high, and value moved kind of up, but like not super. And then again, it's like just during this whole thing, like value hasn't really moved that much, since late May. And it's just a very indecisive market, I think, right now. There's so much uncertainty with inflation and with the Fed saying they're going to raise rates and what that might mean, even though they're not saying they're going to do it till 2023. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty. And right now, I think people are, it just appears that buyers and sellers are both kind of just happy to keep things as they are for the time being, sort of status quo, not looking for a major sell-off. But also the rallies haven't been too strong either. And until something shifts, until there's some sentiment shift, either a big buyer or seller comes in and changes the supply and demand profile, or just some other macroeconomic stuff comes out that shifts the playing field a little bit, I think just sort of here we are, here we are. So today I'm looking at, if we stay in this area, potential range day, and then if we can break out above, or especially above yesterday's range, Friday's range and yesterday's range, if we can break out above that, then I think there could be some room to run, but we do still have some other resistance to deal with. So let's get down to the nitty gritty and talk about levels for intraday for you day traders. Bunch of resistance in here. So I certainly want to be aware of that. And it's going to look something like this. And I would expect at least a speed bump if we do get a rally, at least a speed bump in here. So if you're long, consider taking profits. Of course, you're also really close to this super high volume node here, and that's going to, again, act as a little bit of a magnet for price. to get a little bit stuck. So we might get a little stuck under here, as we kind of already did last night. So we came up close to this high volume area, and just those high volume areas are tough to get through, man. And then right above this zone, and this is very similar to what happened in here with all these little supply areas that were in here. Right above here, we have another resistance zone right here. So the first one's 42.35.50. This one's 42.47.75. And, you know, you can mark off the whole zone, something like that. So, you know, there's some resistance to get through. And then if we do make a new high, just because every time so far that we've made a new high, we've rejected, I would just say, if we make a new high, don't get too crazy with jumping in, you know, 100% bullish, because, you know, it's just a lot of whipping around here. And lots of stop losses getting hit the past few weeks, I think, as everybody's just trying to figure out what the heck is the market trying to do here. So that's the levels to the upside: 42.35.50, 42.47.75. To the downside, way down here, yesterday morning, I said that if price does fall, this would be a level I'd expect it to get a little reaction, 41.48.25. But there's also probably some volumes in here that we need to be aware of, and you know, that's definitely going to be useful information. If we look at this, you know, we've got this sort of thing in here. So right around 41.73, and this is kind of a broad zone, so just be careful, because you really have to have, you know, probably a relatively small position, kind of wide stop in here. But that would be another area. Otherwise, there's not much else through here, right? There's these little nubs of volume, but overall, we kind of just pushed up. This is really just price acceptance. And then we got a little bit stuck here as we started to hit the resistance levels that were all in this area here. So a lot of this, you know, I hope you guys can start to see that we are able to anticipate to a certain extent where price may want to go. And then also we can anticipate where it may have a hard time getting through. And I think that's extremely useful information. You know, like, again, be careful initiating longs as you're running right into resistance, or if you do initiate them, just make sure you take quick profits, because you can see that we kind of go up and get stuck, go up and get stuck, because this was a really sticky area. Through here, lots of buying imbalance. And when you see that, it's not uncommon for price to want to come back through, and just make sure when price moves this quickly, sometimes there are buyers and sellers who are sort of left behind. And we want to make sure that we've dealt with all that, right? That that the auction has been efficient. And when price moves this quickly, sometimes there is inefficiency in the auction process. People don't get their orders filled, they get left behind, and they really want to get in at these better levels. The other thing is there's not a lot of volume in here to support price if it comes down through. And so it tends to get through these areas a lot easier than it gets through areas with high volume. And so, you know, when it starts to fall through there, we can expect bigger movements, and then for it to get a little bit sticky around here. Now, I'm not saying it's going to just come down here and then reverse upward and we're off to the races, but we can expect a little bit of support in this area, and we just want to be aware of that. Me personally, I like to trade those spots for just for quick little scalps, quick little reactions, and that's, you know, how I take my trades, like this one here off the high of the day. I think I got 3 points on that. I think I got about $150. I only took one contract because my stop was way up above these highs, so I didn't want to go in heavy. It would have been too much risk. So it's just a small trade, but I got 3 points on it, not too bad. And you know, that's basically what we're looking at. So those are the levels. I don't see anything else in here. You know, if we go granular, it's just, you know, we're just kind of going sideways right now, and we just have to see, you know, how price is going to react at the market open. So hope you guys have a great trading day. I'll be at it a bit today. By the way, there may not be analysis Thursday and Friday. I'm going to be out of town, and I'm going to be with my family. I may have some time in the mornings to get at my computer and do analysis, but I may not. So um, I apologize, but there may not be analysis on Thursday and Friday of this week. All right, guys, good luck today and have fun.